Hey everyone, so today we'll be speaking about what global and local scopes are in Python. So to begin with, we have, as I said, two types of scopes in Python. They can be termed as global and local. Now, what it actually means is, say you have a function. So let's go ahead and create a function that is called, let's just call it a box. And inside that box, let's say we have what eggs. Let's say I have 100 eggs. So if I try to print the value of eggs now, like, this is not how it works. You can't just define a value inside and expect that value to be available outside. Why? Because this value is set to be inside the local scope, which means that this value is strictly available only inside this function, only inside the function which is named box. If you try to access it outside, it won't be able to, because it doesn't exist in what is called as the global space or the global scope. Everything outside of that function is called global space or global scope. So for example, if I say a variable here that is bread, and if I say to be nice bread, then this variable here, this variable called bread, is a variable in the global scope, which means it's available to our entire program, and it can also be used inside of our function. It can be used inside of our function here as well. I can call print bread from the inside as well. So let's go ahead and I'll just show you how that works. So let's just do that and save this, and as usual we'll go with unimaginably creative names such as something.py. Hold on. So once we're done with that, now if I try and run this, what happens is it gives me no output. Why? Because I never called that function. So you can't just write functions and expect them to be run, as we discussed in our previous video. So I need to call it, and now when I save it and I run it, I get nice bread. And even though the bread variable was defined outside of the function, the function is like, at first I'm not supposed to know about bread, but it still knows about the variable because it was defined outside of it, and because it was a global variable, it was in the global scope, it was available for this function to use. Conversely, it would not be allowed. Like, say if I have print eggs here, and just for your confusion to be clear, I'm calling box and then I'm trying to print eggs. So that eggs has apparently been given a value of 100 now, if you thought it wasn't given before. If I try and run this, I run into an error. It says name eggs is not defined, even though it is, as you can see, clearly defined here. Why does this say this, and why does it throw this error? Because eggs here are in the local scope and this variable bread here is in the global scope. Now, whenever you run a program, only one global scope is created per program. That program has only one global scope, but it can have as many local scopes as you want. That depends on the number of functions you create, or functions within functions that you create. I could create another function inside here that says, I could say box in box and I could have another variable here that says something like, I don't know, what's inside of box? Dust. Dust equals yes. And if I were to come out of here, and you can see I'm on this indentation, that means I'm inside box. I'm no longer inside box in box. And if I now try to print dust, I will run into an error. Hold on. We just need to get rid of this. If I now run, it says name dust is not defined. Why? Because even though it's defined inside box in box, it's not available to box. It's only local to this function, and scopes would not allow it to be used outside of its local scope if that's the case. Global scopes can allow anyone to be used anywhere. I mean, I can use bread here, I can use bread inside dust here as well. With dust, it doesn't matter. So we'll end the video here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.